Hello and welcome back to the Sam Beast YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Before we start, as always, please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more IT asset management, cloud, FinOps, software licensing goodness. We really hope that you've been enjoying the content lately as much as we've been creating it. Today's subject is not ITAM specific, but plays a huge role when you are looking to implement changes or implement IT asset management or any of its subsidiaries like hardware or software asset management within an organization. And you could potentially call this one a soft skill, but today we're going to be talking about culture change. So what is culture change? Why it's important for IT asset management, and how you can manage the culture change when you're changing things within the ITAM function, implementing new things. Culture defines how people think, behave, and work together. Culture is something that you build up over potentially a long period of time, which is why you may find that culture change is most important when you go into an organization that's had people that have worked there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They've been there for a long time, they know how things currently work, they have that particular mindset, and it can become a challenge to shift their mindset into the new ways of working. Culture change is also something that happens a lot easier if you've got a recent leadership change, for example, or you've got a recent turnover of staff with new directors and new people on board, because they're just starting to build their own culture at the organization. As they get used to how it operates, they get used to the people, the processes, the technologies, and the general vibe of the organization. Now, culture is something that is, personally, I think, really important. It can make working for a company and your job and your career that much more enjoyable. When I look back over my career and even the consulting gigs that I've had, the permanent roles that I've had, the best ones have always been where the organization has had a really good culture, or when I've implemented ITAM, they've been receptive to that culture change and we haven't had too many challenges. It just makes going to work that much easier, getting up in the morning that much more fun and enjoyable, going into the office, seeing people, that general positive outlook and that general culture that makes you feel like you can make a difference, that you are being listened to, that you are being heard, and that all of these key stakeholders are with you on that journey as you try and implement ITAM, mature ITAM, or just make general ITAM changes. So why is culture within an organization important, away from that warm fuzzy feeling that you get because you really enjoy working there? Good behavior and a good culture drives outcomes. It drives success and it drives you meeting the goals and objectives that you've been set. You remember, culture influences how people think, act, and behave. So if you've got a really good culture there, people are going to think, act, and behave in a way that supports success and supports a collaborative effort towards achieving not only personal, departmental, geographical goals, but also the organizational goals as a whole. So for example, if the culture is promoting things like accountability, good ideas, evolution of processes, maturity, all of that kind of stuff, then it's naturally going to drive better outcomes. If it's an organization where, there's no such thing as a silly idea or a silly question, you may actually find gems when people are thinking outside of the box to improve things as a whole. And this can be really important when it comes to ITAM, and we'll explain why in a second. Having that good culture also supports future culture changes. If you're implementing a new technology, new processes, new ways of working, it may even be like a new whole project or a leadership change. If that culture is already set up to support change, then the resistance to change and the smoothness of that transition into the new ways of working is going to be that much easier, that much quicker, and that much smoother without upsetting too many people and upsetting them too much. You see when you go into organizations, and I'm sure you have seen this as well, like I said before, where you go in somewhere, you're looking to make changes, there are people that have been there a long time, they're not used to change, you go in and try and implement a change and you get that resistance. You get that, well, who on earth are you? You're new. I've been here 10 years. I know what works. I know how this organization works. I know what I need to do, and I'm going to stick to doing it. Even if it's not effective, even if it's not cost optimal, even if it's not optimized from a process standpoint, or it may not even be supporting regulatory compliance. I've been here 10 years. I'm going to do it the way that I know I'm doing it. You have definitely heard that when you've been out there implementing ITAM, implementing processes, implementing changes. But if that organization already has that culture where it's used to changes, it's used to project dynamics, it's used to things, walking people through these changes, making it relatable to them, then when you come to do ITAM, it's a heck of a lot easier. Having that culture change vibe also helps with the sustainability of not only ITAM, but your organization as a whole. You're not going to be there forever at that organization, or it's very unlikely that you're going to be at that organization forever. If that culture, and you've already gone through that culture change from an ITAM perspective for that organization, when you leave, because you've built that good culture, you've gone through that whole personable, how it impacts the key stakeholders, why they're important to this culture change, what they need to do, etc. When it becomes to you leaving, that ITAM function is going to be way more sustainable and not fall down as much as if it would, as if you didn't have that culture shift. If people were set in their ways, you didn't nurse them through the culture changes, you didn't nurse them through the ITAM implementation or the changes that you're making, and then you leave, they're very quickly going to go back to their old ways and undo all of the great work that you've done from an ITAM perspective. Speaking from an ITAM perspective, why is culture change so important for ITAM? And why is it so important that you as an ITAM professional walk people through those changes? First of all, the obvious one, ITAM covers such a broad spectrum of stakeholders, disciplines and functions within an organization. You think about all of the people that you need to interact with, that you may need to change the ways that they are personally working to support an ITAM function. I'm thinking about the service desk, I'm thinking about information security, procurement, finance, HR, legal, your senior ITAM sponsor, your C-levels. There could be a whole host of culture changes required, all for different people, all with different priorities, all with different experiences, all with different characters and focuses and priorities. There's so much cross-departmental, cross-functioning, geographical locations, collaboration that ITAM does, that it's going to require very different approaches on that culture change when you're trying to implement ITAM or implement a specific process or new control. If when you're building out your ITAM culture, it doesn't promote things like shared accountability, responsibility, transparency even on what ITAM's trying to do, what they're trying to achieve, how it impacts them, even silly things like data transparency that may have been something that was hidden away in the past. Things like that. Really work with your key stakeholders to understand what their challenges are, how ITAM can help, and on a personal level, how you can help them through the changes of what you're implementing from an ITAM standpoint. It will make your life so much easier in the short and the long term. If you've had that approach, if you've worked on that culture change, you've been personable, you've got them excited about the changes that they're making, how they're such an important player, an important stakeholder in making those changes, in realizing ITAM successes, get them on board, get them hyped, really walk them through that change, and the culture, you'll see, you'll reap the rewards in the short and longer term. Let's face it, IT asset management is not going to be successful without the collaboration of all of these stakeholders. So you're going to want them on side. You're going to want them believing what you're trying to achieve, and you need to spend time focusing on that culture change. The knock-on effect of giving time and effort into changing this culture from an ITAM perspective could even relate to cost savings, cost avoidances, compliance and regulatory compliance as well. That's because you've explained to the stakeholders why you're doing what you're doing and the knock-on effect of them being supportive and changing their mindset and supporting you from an IT asset management perspective. It can even help you when you're implementing a new IT asset management technology, for example. As we all know, there is no such thing as an ITAM tool silver bullet. You need the people, processes and technologies behind it to really make that work. So if you're not explaining the benefits of that new tool, you're not guiding the users through that culture change with that new technology, it's just going to be pixels on a screen. It's not going to be as effective. You're not going to get that return on investment for what you've put into it because you haven't got the moral support and the buy-in from your key stakeholders. They don't understand why you've implemented it. They don't understand what they need to do in order to really utilize that tool, and they don't understand the benefits of using that tool for them. Shifting culture, nursing those users through that culture change will result in your ITAM tooling be used way more, and you'll get way more return on that investment. So when should you consider the culture change when it comes to ITAM. Now, first of all, the obvious one is when you've just entered into an organization and you're looking to implement ITAM from the ground up. That's number one. Number two is you've just gone into the organization, you've handed over from someone else, but you want to shift things around, you want to do things your way. Another reason as to why you need to do the culture change element there. If you're already been at the organization, but you're implementing new processes, procedures, races, work instructions, or general ways of working, another opportunity for you to change the culture and really nurse those users through the changes that you're implementing. If you're looking at a particular vendor or software license optimization or hardware cost optimization strategy, again, another opportunity for you to change the culture and make people think about how they can influence the savings on that software agreement or the savings on that hardware optimization project or actions that you're looking to currently do. Even if there's an organizational shift and looking at green IT or sustainability, again, prime example of why you need to look at that culture shift. People may not be thinking about turning their devices off when they leave the office, like their monitor, for example, things like that. Or even ITAD, they may not be aware that when they give an equipment back, not just put it in stock, put it in storage, and yeah, it'll be dealt with at some point or other, I don't know when, but not my job. Really walk them through, no, we need to do ITAD. Here's all of the sustainability and the green IT benefits of doing this, and here's how you can play a key role in that. You can do all of this culture shift and culture change and holding their hand through this, through things like webinars, deep dive sessions, even one-on-ones, even a coffee chat. Just regular coffee chats is another really good way of getting the message across as to what you're trying to achieve from an ITAM perspective and how important that stakeholder is in that culture change, in ITAM success. I know people really often overlook it and just think, well, I'm implementing a process, you've got to follow it, it's there for a reason. A new policy, I'm implementing it, you've got to follow it. But how would you like it if you've been at the organization for a long time and someone suddenly comes in and says, nope, you're doing everything wrong, you're doing it this way now? Your nose would feel a bit out of joint. You wouldn't particularly warm to that person or that process or that policy or that change they're implementing. But when you really get personal, you talk to them about their challenges, how important they are as to what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, you hold their hand and guide them through that change, you'll see so much more success, so much more collaboration, so much more buy-in, enthusiasm and excitement for what you're trying to achieve in the ITAM space. So I really hope you found this useful. Please join us next week when we've got our big interview for July. And then after that, we've got another webinar coming up as well. There's so much great ITAM content coming over the next months, year even. We've got a yearly plan all sorted out for this channel. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that. I'd really hate for you to miss out on stuff. Give this video a like. Really hope we're giving you food for thought on the culture change and how you as an ITAM professional can influence that and the benefits that you can reap from doing such a culture change. And until next time, happy ITAMing and happy culture changing.